Jai Sri Ram, friends. Welcome to Bharat Marg. So happy to be here with you. And Vinay Ji, thank you for joining with us, the political analyst. I appreciate it. Today is going to be an important topic, folks. This is about playbook for making an Islamic nation. How to convert a nation into an Islamic nation, and how Vinay Ji is going to show you how some simple steps can be followed to convert a nation into an Islamic nation. Okay, see here, and maybe your neighborhood is going through this. Maybe your a village is going through it. Maybe your city is going through it. Watch out carefully. Okay, how this is being done. But before going further, friends, please make sure to like the video, comment on the video, share the video as much as you can. Okay, and also please make sure to subscribe the channel if you didn't already, and press the notification bell so that we can stay connected. Anytime we come live, you can come and give your opinion. If you have any questions, you can ask everything. But Vinay ji, it's very interesting topic. Playbook for making an Islamic nation. Example you are going to take out is Yemen and Syria. So people always think that Yemen and Syria has been an Islamic nation for a long, long time. But you are going to say what really happened there, and also and not only that, the most interesting part is you are going to give a guideline and step by step walkthrough on how to convert a nation into an Islamic nation easily. Okay, again, welcome Vinay ji.
Thank you.
Welcome. Just little bit come top. If you can, yeah, that will be great. That's awesome. And Semi, how this is being done, Vinay? How to Well,
So
you
it's
say
a,
playbook?
it's a
What is a playbook for converting a nation or a city or a gully or a gaon into Islamic?
well, it's a very interesting topic actually. Ironically, I want to focus mainly on Syria more than
Mhm,
Yemen. Yemen is also, of course, I mean, like let's talk in general. Okay,
mhm,
there's a University of Oxford publication. Okay,
mhm,
if you look at it, I think it was published about. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if
mhm,
I'm not mistaken. And
mhm,
in that, they actually talk about how did the Christian Middle East
mhm,
become predominantly Muslim
mhm.
from a majority Christian world.
You mean to say the whole Middle East was a Christian Middle East before?
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, how did the ancient Middle East transform from a majority Christian world to the majority Muslim world we know today? So this
Mhm,
is a beautiful article that was published in by the University of Oxford. So there's a
mhm,
lot of research that has gone into it, and it's not
mhm,
by some blogger or some WhatsApp guy or somebody. This is a prestigious university, of course, in England, and so they've published this. And it's interesting to know that the Islamic uh, advent happened probably around the 600, somewhere around that 600, 600, 700 AD. Okay,
mhm,
so that's we're talking about maybe 1500 years ago. Okay,
mhm,
so that's when things started happening, and then the at the time the Islamic jihadists, so the way their playbook was written was everything was done through force. Okay, so you either convert or you die. Okay,
mhm,
pretty much what happened as recently as in Kashmir in India.
mhm,
Okay, where you convert or die. So if you
mhm,
watch Kashmir Fast, that is the slogan of all the jihadists in that movie.
mhm,
Okay, so basically what happened was during the 7th and 8th century, so I'm talking 680, 780, right?
mhm,
So that around that time, the Arab armies were kind of quickly gathering and coming together and stuff like that. So
mhm,
their motto was basically to kind of go and conquer
mhm,
the rest of the world. So as you know, the Christian dominated the whole Middle East at the time, because Christianity was established in Jerusalem, and then the Bethlehem and Israel, the one that we know as Israel, and from there it kind of started spreading out, right?
Mhm.
So Christianity was predominantly in the Middle East because it originated in the Middle East, and
Mhm.
only later it spread to the New World as we know today. New World meaning the Americas, and of
Mhm.
course Europe was already there. So then it started
Mhm.
spreading to Europe because
Mhm.
at the time in Europe there was they were barbaric. There was no
Mhm.
religion. There was nothing was there. So the
Mhm.
Christianity kind of created some kind of a discipline and all that stuff. But Muslims are also were coming up together, and then they started conquering, and that was their playbook. Basically violence. That's it. Conquering, violence, killing, and threatening,
And yeah, please go ahead. I will
and,
ask you a
and
question
threatening,
later.
and so on and so forth to just make sure that their population grows, because that was their whole belief system, that the jihadists believed that Islam can only grow by getting people
Means,
converted.
okay, I don't have any difference between jihadis, non-jihadis. Okay, means let's be clear. Their
Mhm.
agenda is same. Their somebody is intellectually doing it. Somebody is doing real estate wise. Somebody is doing marriage wise. But everybody is one way or the other involved with this. Is it? Do you agree with me on that?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little controversial statement because with regard to religion, especially because I have a lot of Muslim friends, and they are pretty neutral, and we hardly discuss
Right.
religion and
No, no,
conversion
but
and
this
politics
is
and
my
stuff like
opinion. My opinion. Means
that. Yeah.
intellectual jihad, we say real estate jihad, we
I
say.
mean, there could be maybe there's a group that is probably intellectual jihadists and non-intellectual jihadists, but they're on the end of the day they are jihadists. They're
Right.
extremely fundamental, and we have that in every religion. In fact, we have
Hmm.
that in Hinduism, we have that in Christianity, we have that in Jewish, we have it in Buddhist. We have fundamentalists are there, but the population of the percentage of the fundamentalists in the other religions are maybe much smaller compared to Islam. Okay, so that's why most people think, oh, the entire Muslim population is like that, but it's not. Okay,
Okay,
so
let's go on. Yeah.
all right. Now coming back to the topic with regards to Yemen and Syria, I'm going to focus on Syria. Syria, I mean, like I'm not talking too long ago. Okay, like we are talking probably uh, maybe about less than about 100 years ago.
Hmm.
Okay, Syria was predominantly a Christian, state. Okay,
Hmm.
there were Muslims there. I'm not saying there weren't any Muslims. Okay, but what has happened is the Muslim population was a minority, I should say.
Hmm.
Okay, and it was mainly the Christian population that was a majority there.
Hmm.
So, but what happened was, over a period of time, the Syrian government started welcoming immigrants. Okay, I mean, like at the time, Palestine was a big. There was a lot of stuff going on there, turmoil and stuff like that, because between Israel and Palestine, and there was other parts, Lebanon, and things, countries like that, right? So
Hmm.
people were taking refuge in Syria, and Syria welcomed them with open arms.
Hmm.
And then once the Muslims started coming in, they started getting into the system, basically the
Hmm.
network. So when I say network and the system, because they were getting into government jobs like police and administration and politics and so on and so forth. So eventually the population spread so much. Like for every one Christian that was born, we
Hmm.
had about 10 Muslims that were born. Do you see the difference there?
Yeah, yeah. Like in German today, it is said that for every German there is one Muslim baby is born.
Correct. So basically that actually created a huge furor, and gave a huge impetus to the Muslims, and their population started growing, mushrooming, and
Mhm,
eventually they kind of they beat the Christian population. So in about less than 100 years, I think
mhm,
the population of Muslims went pretty much tripled, quadrupled, whatever happened, and
mhm,
now they became the majority. And
mhm.
then what they did was they started marginalizing the Christians, and the Christians were pretty much driven out of Syria, and then Syria
The
became
same guys who welcomed them before.
correct. The same guys who welcomed them before, now they were driven out, thrown out, and then it was too late. So that's pretty much what happened.
But let me ask you this. Okay, before we go to Yemen, there is a huge difference. So Christian missionary has their own way of converting a nation.
Yeah.
How do you see the difference between how the nation becomes a Christian nation versus how the nation becomes a Muslim nation, or the Christian nation is a precursor of a Muslim nation? Once it becomes Christian nation, then it is easy for them to convert it into a Muslim nation. How does it work?
So the playbooks for religious conversion, okay, is pretty much the same. Okay. You kind of do it by hook or crook. I mean, if you go back a few centuries ago, right?
Mm-hmm,
The British came to
mm-hmm,
India, for example.
mm-hmm.
Okay, and they went to many parts of the world. They went to Africa and whatever. I mean, I still remember Desmond Tutu, right? His comment, like, what was his comment? Like, he said, the white guys came and they gave us a Bible in our hand, and we closed our eyes and we started praying, and then next thing, our lands are gone. So
And
our
we had the
resources,
Bible, they had the land.
exactly.
When
So
they
it's
came
like
before, yeah, that
yeah.
is a nice quote though.
So this is exactly what the British did, and they
And they converted all the First Nations by genocide, like it happened here in
and they have done it
Canada
in Canada and the United States, because we had a huge
and other
indigenous
parts of
population,
Africa too. Yeah.
right? But here in North America, we have a huge indigenous population. We had a huge indigenous population that all followed their own culture and faith. But these guys were eventually converted through Catholic schools, residential schools, and then they basically they kind of didn't go for the we talked about it yesterday, right? They
Mhm.
don't go for these matured adult population, because that is a kind of a little difficult to convert, because there
Mhm.
you have to do it by force. But if you catch hold of children who are innocent, who don't know what this is all about, then
Mhm.
you put them on the path of Jesus, or Muslim, or Muhammad the Prophet, and whatever. The 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 kids will follow that, right? So now there, that is the whole difference there. So now coming back to your question, uh, the playbooks are pretty much the same for both. uh, Christianity has used force in the past. They've attacked, they've conquered, they've colonized countries, just in the garb of religion. Because the funny thing is, when people came to India, they came for two reasons. I mean, like, if you remember Vasco da Gama, right, from Portugal. So when Vasco da Gama arrived in Goa, his only reason to arrive in India was to convert, right? So then the British came. The British's sole reason was also conversion, okay, and also but also they knew that India has a a load of wealth, because they at the time India had gold, silver, diamonds, and everything was flowing, and the spices and all that. So these guys came for that. So that was a bonus for them. I mean, not only did they convert people in hundreds and thousands and probably millions.
And creating famine, everything.
Exactly. And then they took away all the wealth, and now India, which was one of the most prosperous countries in the world at the time, became one of the poorest countries in the world within a span of 175 years. That's it.
Yeah, but I
175
don't get into the timeline of 175 because India was looted by the Islamic and Mughal regime too before.
No, but they were still okay. I mean, I'm talking only the British era, right? I'm only talking
right.
about the British era. British era
Right.
was about 175 years. So
Right.
that during that time, it when the British came, they just wiped it out completely. And today there are trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth that they looted from India, sitting in their museums and on the king's crown and the king's throne, whatever, right? So that's the unfortunate. So likewise, Muslims as well, they also used force in the past.
But before we go there, I have one little question, if you can address that. Why Christianity is able to convert very, very easily the First Nations and other country like Hindu country, and but they are always losing to the Muslims? What is the secret behind it? Number one question. Number two, why a country always becomes a Christian nation before it get into big fully a Muslim nation? That is my second question. I'm sorry.
The first question, it's a very good question, because the thing is, with regards to, you only mentioned two kinds of people: indigenous people and the Indians. Okay, which are
Hindu
essentially Hindus,
Sanatanis, basically
which
the
is Hindu.
natural worshippers. Let me put it this way: even the Hindus are part of it.
Correct. So the indigenous people, they have their own faith. Now the faith it's not written in any book form or in any they don't have any Bible or Quran or whatever. They only have their own word of mouth following, like, the culture and faith and whatever they believe in. And the most important point that I want to make is, indigenous people don't go around converting other people.
Right, like Sanatanis, basically.
Okay, now coming to the Sanatana Dharma. In Sanatana Dharma, again, they don't believe in converting people. Okay.
Right.
Again, Sanatana Dharma believed in faith, word of mouth. For example, the Vedas, this was all word of
Natural
mouth.
worship, yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing was written. Nothing was in the written format up until only recently, right? In the last few hundred years, it's been written. Because before, the Vedas were all passed on from one generation to the other generation,
Mouth, yeah.
only by recital, actually. By the person used to recite it in a certain way. And even the enunciation of a certain word is important to give you the meaning. So that is the reason they said that, we cannot write this. It has to be said in a certain way. It has to be recited in a certain way. And that is the reason. And they also did not believe in converting other people. So these were the two very gullible people, okay, extremely gullible people who would be easily, converted. So what happened? The Sanatana Dharma, although it exists, there was no written document. There was no okay, you have to go for a Sunday worship, you have to go for a Friday namaz, or you have to pray 5 times a day. It's nothing in written form. It's like a way of living. What is Sanatana Dharma? It's not a religion. It's a way of life, right? So same thing with the indigenous. Is it a religion? No, it's a way of life, right? So it was very easy for Christians to go there and convert these two populations and make them Christians. And only people who were extremely what I should say is committed to the Sanatana Dharma, they did not convert. But there were a lot of other people who converted because of money, power, threat, threat to life, threat to property, threat to whatever, and things like that. So they converted. That's how it is. Now, coming to the why it's not possible in Muslim countries is because Muslims are also on the same path of conversion.
Right.
Okay. So now when you have two people, one is converting from Muslim and somebody else to Muslim, and Christians are converting from some other people from other religions to Christianity. Now, if these two people clash, yeah, you know, there's no way. It's like banging two rocks. It's not going to happen, right? So that's why they just start moving away. So the Christians and Muslims, they tried using other means and methods, other playbooks to kind of go ahead and do this.
Now,
So
now, yeah.
coming to your second question, so your second question was what was the question about? Sorry, I just
Why a country always becomes a Christian country before it becomes a Muslim nation, like
yeah.
in Kerala, for example, or any other place, Afghanistan or anything like that, you can take it.
Right. So, like, for example, Syria. We were just talking about Syria, right? So, because the Christian history is a little longer than the Muslim history, right?
Mhm.
So Christians have always been one step ahead of the Muslims. All right. So they have been wherever Muslims wanted to go, Christians were already there. And there, the thing is, the Christian, it's a very good question that you brought up. The Christian religion is a very, very, very organized religion, extremely organized. Because if you
Mhm.
look at it, the entire world global population of Catholics is controlled by the Pope,
Mhm.
right? And the entire world's population of Protestants is controlled by the
Queen,
um, British,
the
the
Queen.
Church of England.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is organized religion, and now all the like the bishops, the cardinals, and the priests, and all these guys report to the church. Okay, so now the mandate that comes from these head office, I should say, from the head office, is that you guys go and convert, and you use different means and methods. I mean, we see Jehovah's Witnesses coming all the time, knocking on your doors and asking you to convert and blah 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 and whatever, right? And
Mhm.
that's the way it is, because what the benefit of this Christianity is, for the people who convert, is basically they say, okay, you go and convert 10 people, you will be promoted, or you will be getting something in return, some gift or something, right? So that's how it is. But Muslims were not as organized. Okay, so the Muslims organization only goes to the mullah level or the mosque level. Okay, and one mosque doesn't report to the other mosque, and they also have Shia, Sunnis, Ahmadiyas, and so many other faiths and castes and sub-religions and whatever, right?
Mhm.
So but the thing is, now the Muslims, the way they organize, it doesn't come from a head office, it comes from the ground level, from the mosque level, which is
Mhm.
also very good, because the ground level, now the population you're targeting is only in your area where the mosque is.
Right.
So that's why that was a little difficult to capture, whereas these guys had freedom, the Christians had the freedom to travel by ship, and now travel by air or travel by road or whatever, to go and reach people, who are living in remote corners of the countries, and of different lands, and convert them. So that's their
Mhm.
objective. So that is the reason why the Muslims were ahead of the game. And then eventually the Muslims had to kind of sorry, the Christians were ahead of the game, and the Muslims now had to write a different playbook. And now they've come up with all kinds of playbooks, like, love jihad, computer gaming jihad, and so many things that are
And
happening.
also refugee jihad, whatever you call it.
Refugee jihad, like, people coming, immigrating
Now
from,
Europe will be converted, if not already.
exactly, people coming from Bangladesh. Like, so how many people came from Bangladesh? Or what are those Rohingyas who came from Burma and Myanmar to India? Like, how many thousands and thousands of people, right? And then this is unfortunate that's going on. And the problem is the Western world is still not aware of what's going on, so they kind of welcome these people as refugees, and then they don't know that soon, and like, it's happening in France, for example, or in Germany. These guys are building their own, the Muslims, jihadi Muslims are building their own caliphates within France in smaller area, and even the cops and the administration are not allowed to go into those areas, because these are extremely I mean, they are
Now,
they're
now,
controlled by these
now let
jihadis.
me ask you this. So, how was Yemen, and how Yemen got converted? In what kind of time frame we are talking about?
Yemen was, the Islam arrived in Yemen in, I think, 630 AD. Okay, and then when uh, Yemen was again a smaller. It was ruled as part of an Arab Islamic caliphate. Okay,
Hmm.
but I said, like I said, Arab. Sorry, the entire Middle East was Christian dominated at the time, and then again, what happened was with the Yemenis, the whole what should I say, um, the this thing of conquering, okay, the thing of um, colonizing. I mean, they don't say colonizing in the Muslim world. It was more conquering. Okay, so the conquerors basically came from other parts, and then Islam was growing at the time, as you can understand, and they came to Yemen, and same thing, right? They kind of took over parts of Yemen, and then Yemen was actually ruled by a series of Muslim caliphs. Okay, and if you go back to about a thousand BC, they had a very 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 rich civilization at the time, Yemen. Okay, and Yemen still has a lot of those. Uh, Architecture and stuff that is kind of evidence of their rich culture in the past, but all these got destroyed eventually, because as the conquerors came in, and as the population, the majority population that was at the time, whatever, started shrinking, Yemen became more and more Muslim population, and in Yemen, actually, the Christianity was not as predominant as in Syria, but Yemen had its own culture and stuff like that. And then the Islamic caliphs came in, the Muslim caliphs, and Yemen was ruled by a series of Muslim caliphs, beginning with the Umayyad dynasty, and which ruled from Damascus, which is in Syria, in the latter part of the seventh century. Umayyad rule was followed by the Abbasid caliphs in the 8th century, and then so on and so forth. So then slowly the population started growing, and this Yemen has been converted, into full Christian, I'm sorry, Muslim country, um, much longer than 100 years, I would say, because it's happened over a few hundred years, rather than Syria, which only happened in the last 150 years.
The Syrian president, who is his wife is dressing so modern and all those things, the sitting president right now, right? And his wife put all kind of social media posts. Are they Muslims? Or are they Christians?
They're Muslims.
They're Muslims.
Yeah.
You cannot rule Syria now without being a Muslim.
No, no, no. Syria is completely wiped out of Muslims. I mean, Christians, Christian population maybe less than 1%, or I don't even know. I don't have the statistics on that, but it's very very less. And if
And Iran also was not Muslim in the before, right?
Iran was also not Muslim. Iran was Persian. Okay, Iran is a Persian country, and Iran was predominantly, and this is what I keep saying about the Middle East, right? The Middle East was predominantly non-Muslim. Okay, and Christianity was there, but not in Iran. Iran was all
Persian.
the Persian mainly, and Persian religion is different actually. And Persians, what the um, they have a different way of living and all that. But Persian religion still exists in Iran, but they became a minority.
And normally, how much time it takes to convert a nation into Islamic nation?
Oh, if you look at the past history, right, it used to take several hundred years. Okay, in the past, because their playbook, the playbook that they used in the past, was just one and only. The one and only was conquering and converting by threatening and by force and stuff like that. That was the only playbook that was used at the time. But today, in the modern 21st century, things have changed, and today a nation can become a full Islamic nation, for example, probably in about 50 years.
Wow. And we see that in front of our eyes in Europe,
Yeah, exactly. And
for
if
sure.
the politicians are totally impervious to all of this. Okay, they're pretty much closed their base, and they're totally blindfolded because their whole motto is vote bank. Okay, they
Right.
don't want to offend anybody. There is equality, equitability, and blah blah blah. Keep talking about that, right? But end of the day, you also have to make sure that you don't compromise on your local population. What's your local population? What's your local culture? For example, in
No, for
Canada.
that and all, you had to have a long term thinking, right? If your thinking is just loot and scoot,
Exactly. I mean, these
then
guys' goals are all short-term thinking because they're only thinking about the next elections.
loot
Next
and
ele-
scoot.
yeah, next elections are coming, so I got to make sure that I
Yeah.
win this election and blah blah blah, and that's all they're thinking. Then
Anyway,
very few people think about the long term.
Absolutely. Vinayji, thank you very much. It has been a fantastic interview. You walked us through on this steps, easy steps, how it is being converted. And very interesting is in olden days, it used to take several hundred years. Now it takes maybe a couple of decades for conversion. That's what you are talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining Bharat Marg and sharing your wisdom. Appreciate it. Friends, what do you think about playbook on converting a nation into an Islam or Islamization of the nation, shared by Vinay Ji? Please comment, share, and let us know what you think. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you in the next video. Till then,